Tess, can you hear me? I can't tell you how good it feels to be back in this gym. We're here today to honor our veterans. My father said war is awful and that he hated war. The smartest person to ever live wrote this: to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under the heaven, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to be born and a time to die. And with that, I'd really like to thank you veterans sitting out there and active duty. I remember the janitors that set this up, the teachers, our principal, our superintendent, the community people here. And the whole reason this school exists is you kids. We're here, the people I just mentioned, because we care for you. And this is Veterans Day. We want to honor them, and we want to pass the baton on to you and teach you to do the same. It's very, very important that we remember God told Israel if they forget their past, what they have been through, they wouldn't care as much about their nation. They would actually go off course. So we're here to honor our vets, to remember, to pledge in our hearts, to make a determination, like I did some years ago, and I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit, to earn their service, to earn the veteran service. There was a movie out some years ago, this would date me, it was Saving Private Ryan. It was the first wave on Omaha Beach. And I actually had a chance, it was at Miss Ohio Banquet, I had a chance to talk to a gentleman that was in the first wave. He's all dressed up, was in a tux, he's an older man. His granddaughter was competing with my daughter, Kelly. And I was just talking to him and I said, was it really that bad? Was it that bad? Was the action that bad? And he looked at me and he put his head down and he started sobbing. Tears started dripping off his nose, dripping on his shiny tux shoes that came with the outfit. And he goes, no, it was worse. It was worse. And he excused himself and he went to the bathroom. I can't tell you how I felt and how it touched me. But that movie says to earn this. Like, we don't want to forget what people did for us, you know? I see a lot of vets in here that I've talked to. I see a ranger sitting right back there in the back with a red coat, right, Joe? And I asked him some time ago at a ball game that he sat right over there, what kind of shape were you in? And he goes, I could rub the Napoleon back. And then he goes, with my rifle. Isn't that right, Joe? And there's other vets I've talked to. I see Burdell Sweever here, Wayne Phillips, a lot of people, too many to mention. We want to love our country like they do, willing to put their life on the line. We want to love those who fought for us, that sacrificed for us. My dad told it how it was. He graduated school. He had a basketball scholarship to go play college. And I've talked to other vets. Their lives were all laid out before them, just what they were going to do, just what they planned, and then that draft notice comes. Or they enlist, and instantly everything changes. You know, I was watching this video on here. It reminded me of the Zentz family, and I used to write Jaron a pass out of government to come down to my room, because there's only certain days he could talk to his dad overseas. And it wasn't very often. And the sacrifice that the families make is so great. And we owe them our respect. Well, how do you grow that respect? How do you grow that love? How can you talk about it? And veterans, I want to encourage you to tell your story, to talk to people. You know, Dad would never say anything. Since then, I found out he was an Acorn unit. It was just recently declassified a couple years ago. And he was Special Forces, higher than a Navy SEAL today. And he said, well, I just don't remember. I don't remember. But then one time in the hospital, a nurse said her husband had passed away over there. And he remembered everything, and he talked to her. So it's so important that you can share, and I know it's not easy. And then we've been going to Florida this fall to exercise. I met a person who touched my heart, a helicopter pilot, a Vietnam helicopter pilot. How many Vietnam vets do we have in here? Raise your hand. Okay, thank you. All vets, we thank you. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's the only guy in my whole life, I'm 64 years old, that walked up to me and said, are you having fun today? And I go, whoa, having fun? What do you mean by that? You know, having fun. And he goes, every day is a gift. And a long story short, we got talking. Life expectancy for a helicopter pilot or a door gunner was less than 2 weeks. And the fact that he made it home, he looked at every day as a gift and a mission. You know, my father-in-law said you can take the man out of the Army, and only you guys would know this, but you can't take the Army out of the man. Is that so? We should always be on a mission because we love our country. And we care about our country. And the way it started with me is just my father-in-law, 4th of July, he came up, and we're grilling and everything, and he goes, we gotta go. We gotta go. We got his Chevy Chevette. And he said, I gotta talk to somebody. I gotta talk to somebody. And he just started talking about the war. And here the guy, I married his daughter, really nice looking too. And married his daughter, and all these years, never knew. He was in the first battle, World War II, Operation Torch. He survived through the last battle. He volunteered for a bombing raid. Back then they didn't have radios and stuff. They set smoke bombs. Him and a bunch of guys snuck up front, set smoke bombs, and B-17s are coming through, and they're going to bomb on the other side of the smoke. Guess what happened to the wind? It changed. Can't tell you how many lives they lost that day. And I say this with sadness. Afterwards, he walked out there in an area as big as a football field, and he told me he couldn't put his size 8 shoe down and not touch something human. He was in 5 amphibious landings. Battle of the Hurricane Forest. He went up. His buddy said he'd take watch first. Knocked on his shoulder. He didn't move. Knocked on his shoulder. He didn't move. He froze to death. He was froze to death solid. My father-in-law survived because he put his M1 carbine in his coat and jumped in a snowdrift between trees. So tanks, the German tanks, wouldn't run over, and the snowdrift blocked the cold. I invited him to come speak Veterans Day, the very first Veterans Day at this school. At the end of the day, it was standing room only. Superintendent was there, principal was there, and he loved this country. He loved, through all that, just like you guys, loved this country, and he wasn't afraid to tell people about it. He told me the Germans dropped leaflets from their plane, I think it was Sicily, and said, hey, we're going to kill you, you won't live. And your God can't save you. Well, I guess they were wrong. We're kind of like Liberty Center coming over here expecting to beat us in football, right? Veterans, I hope you're still on a mission to talk to people, to talk to these people sitting right here because we love this school, we love our kids, to share that they can learn from the past to love the country like what you did, giving your life for the service of our country. And you know, I could go on and talk, but just in closing, and I didn't want to be real long, some points. One, every day is a gift. Like when we get up in the morning, I just used to get up and say, oh yes, my hair looked okay and this, and go to school when I was your age, and I got my homework done and all that. But when I grew up with World War II vets and saw what they did and how they approached life, and I talked to my father-in-law like I explained here, and that helicopter pilot that was so happy that he was alive and had this attitude. Every day is a gift. Don't take it for granted. I don't care what class you're in. I don't care what grade you're in. I don't care what sport you're playing. Track, right, Mr. Gubernath? Basketball coach, don't get mad, okay? Do your best, but you're not going to pass that way again. And time goes fast. I would give anything to be back here teaching kids. Loved it. And in the blink of an eye, it's over. Some of you will join me, just like your guys' service records. Like you're in there and you're out. Our flag is so important. You know, when we sing the national anthem, or we say the Pledge of Allegiance, and we put our hand over our heart. My son-in-law, Chris Mars, in the 101st Airborne, and some of you guys will understand this. People in the bleachers may not. But on base, when you put the flag up or take it down, everything stops. Everybody is looking at the flag, thinking about the flag, respecting the flag, because, see, the value is in the cost. The lives spent and given for us. Like, how does that, I can't even explain how it makes me feel that you would sacrifice for me, for my family, for my grandkids, 14 of them, that I can wear what I want to wear, that I can wear a flag, that I can shop, that I can travel through. I have freedoms. I go to church where I want. It's not that way over the world. We have that because people love us so much, they went and sacrificed the best part of their lives right here for us. And I hope they're still on a mission to their families, like I mentioned. Burdell is sitting right there, Burdell Sweeber, and he wrote a book. I got it. He gave me a copy. He came here and spoke. He gave it to all the kids, didn't he, Scott? You read it, don't you? Does it touch your heart? It does mine. Our flag. My father-in-law saw that action. He came here to see kids play sports, my kids. And when they would play the national anthem, he'd put his hand over his heart and he would just sob. The value is determined by the cost. The value is determined by the cost. And when you say the Pledge of Allegiance, what we're saying is, I'll pledge my life. I'll exchange my life for this country. I pledge allegiance to the flag. So very important. And then finally, 101st Airborne, Dick Winters, every morning when he got up, he would pray and say, I want to do my best. And every night when he would go to bed, he'd say, did I do my best? Where could I do better? He evaluated himself on a daily basis. And since I read that in a book that I got in the library, that's what I make my practice, to do my absolute best. When I walked in the building over here, Winsegway, didn't they always do their best? We just care so much. Remember the sacrifice. We want to do our best. And sometimes days are hard. Sometimes things don't work out right. Sometimes it's not easy, like basic training. I had a veteran tell me, and I mentioned this a long time ago at a wrestling thing here. He had an old Army truck that he built into a backhoe to fill ditches. It had 2 motors, 3 transmissions, no power steering, 6-wheel drive from Bob Chrisman from World War II. And I always just strung towel. I didn't have to think or do anything. And he said, you're driving this. And I go, what? I can't drive. I can't do this. You know, society today won't even try sometimes. That's a good thing about PH people. We're not that way. When the going gets tough, by golly, we get going. We don't give up so easy. But what he told me was, there isn't anything you cannot do if you want to do it bad. And that's what I want to tell you guys here today. There isn't anything you can't do. And the focus is to make this country be the best that it can possibly be. And everything matters in the classroom. I used to tell the kids, the way you write your name, is it neat? When you hand in that piece of paper with your homework on, did you do your best job? When you go to practice, did you do your best job? When you speak to people, are you polite and kind and care? And then as you grow up, you know, throughout your whole life, remember the sacrifice every time you hear the national anthem. Because time goes fast. Time goes really, really fast. Thanks for having me. We live in the greatest country in the world, and I love it. There's no place I'd rather be. And as far as I'm concerned, this is the best school in the state of Ohio. And that's because of you kids and what you do, and the teachers here, and the way everybody works, and the people in the community. Like, don't you feel a real sense of pride today that we're here? We're patriots, and we live in this free country. We got a great band, you know? Thank you so much. God bless you.